Hey, you know, well, I think what it is. Pressure. Okay, very. No, Robert. Got about an hour. Actually, that's a 2 o'clock call. Won't get it excited.
And I was telling Greg, I went to this tech conference this weekend. So
Can everyone please turn on their mics?
We didn't hear that it wasn't. Yeah, I don't think, no word from Flint, right, Therese?
I haven't heard from him. I'm sorry. Next.
We passed the virtual gavel.
I just got a text that he's on his way.
Just right now?
It did say,
That's just coming from LA though.
Yeah.
I think it's time for the.
Yeah, well, we can go ahead and get
Go ahead and get,
started.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And then when
yeah,
he shows up.
so we have a vice chair.
Mhm. All right, well, so we'll call this to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I've got it right here. Thanks. All right. Roll call wise, we're missing Flint. We're going to see if he's going to be coming. I'm here, obviously. Bob is here.
Present.
And Greg. Julie
Present.
and Mig. Do we have any
Mig
kind of Mig on the?
Not online, sir.
Okay. So, is that a quorum?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we're good. And then we've got alternate here too as well, with Constantine if necessary. So it looks like we are not needing to seat alternates at this point. With a quorum. Okay, good. As we begin, are there any additions, changes, deletions from the minutes from anybody?
None from staff.
No.
From board at all? Okay. Good. No change to the agenda that we have here. And then as we look towards the agenda from last time that was published, are there any questions, comments, or amendments to that from anybody present? Actually, you know what? There was not. Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, that's correct. Any comments to last time's minutes?
Oh, the minutes.
Well, the
I'm sorry, I
approval
jumped ahead.
agenda, approval
Sorry,
agenda.
approval
There
of
you
the
go.
agenda.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've jumped ahead.
That's okay.
All right. All right. So for today's agenda, we're seeking a motion to approve today's agenda. All
I
right,
so move.
Second.
good. All those in favor? Aye.
All
Aye.
right.
Anybody opposed? Good. Our agenda for today is approved. Ahmed, do we have anybody from the public participating? We need to.
We have Director Patty Townsend Smith, but we have no members of the public.
Okay, so no public comment expected.
No, sir. What's that?
from a cruise ship.
Yeah.
From a cruise ship. All
I
right.
think Rod Smith is zoomed in
Oh, okay.
from his cruise ship back
Cool.
from Mexico.
Okay, and then we've had somebody else join just now, it looks like.
That's Carlene,
Oh,
staff.
sorry, Carlene. Okay, good. Good. So there's no public participation, so we don't need to go through that at this point.
No, sir.
Now, where I jumped in earlier from March 4th, our minutes. Looking to see if there's any questions or comments on the minutes as they were published as part of the packet. I have none.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, okay.
I'll move they get approved.
Okay, we have a motion. I'll go ahead and second that. To approve March 4th minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? We do have one abstained. That is fine.
One abstain?
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
wasn't here.
wasn't here, so it'd be
Thank
difficult
you.
to. All right.
Steve, do you have the swatting board?
All right, Flint, we've made it to the point where we're in comments. So we'll leave it over to Jake for comments that you've got.
Sure. And just one thing to report on today. Some kind of breaking news. We were notified that there's a planned shutdown for Pipeline 4, which is Second Aqueduct treated water pipeline, scheduled for June. It's an emergency shutdown by the County Water Authority to conduct some repairs on one of their pipelines that sits just south of us. And but again, treated water pipeline stuff impacts connection 8 and connection 9, two of our connections, and connection 8 is a workhorse of ours. That's what provides a lot of supply into to the district. They're planning 20-day shutdown, June 1st to the 21st to do the repairs, which is it's a long shutdown for the treated water aqueduct. So the good news, we built those 3 pump stations that were quite costly. If we didn't have those right now, we would be mobilizing temporary pump stations that probably wouldn't have enough capacity to meet summertime demands, which could absolutely happen in June. Normally those temporary pump stations were good enough to handle winter flows, but they don't schedule shutdowns for the summer. So that's the good news. We have those 3 pump stations. We don't need to mobilize. That's significant cost savings on that end. I think the last time we did it, it was 300,000 plus. I think just in fuel, it was like 300,000 plus in diesel fuel just to run those pump stations. So that's a bit of a payback. That was the original genesis of those pump stations, right? Was that purpose? We did not expect to use them this June, but that is actually a big benefit. I mean, everything from you're talking about the rental, the fuel, overtime. Staff's got to man these things, constantly, even just the setup and all that kind of thing. So there's quite a bit of cost savings there. That's the good news. The bad news is detachment or no detachment. That's a significant source of supply that's out of service for us, and so the real task is getting enough supply into basically into Morrill Reservoir, into that zone, so you can supply that area plus obviously the area to the south that the pump stations pull to. And so our operations staff is kind of working not overtime, but they're working diligently to really kind of find some internal solutions. Also we have some emergency interconnects with some of our neighboring agencies that we may utilize. And so we're kind of running the numbers on all that now. In the past, when these things have happened, we've had to do some outreach on water conservation and things like that to get people to not use water during those time periods. So that we're kind of holding that in our back pocket as well. If we need to pull that trigger, we probably will have, and this is something we'd actually planned on doing, was one of the interconnects with Fallbrook, a new interconnect with Fallbrook. We're probably going to expedite that to try to get that into place before June 1st to solve that. We actually have 2 parallel 20-inch lines that run down Winter Warm and Gracie Lane in that area, kind of in the middle of our district. I believe we already have a pipeline stubbed for it, a 12-inch pipeline stub for it. It was always meant for an emergency interconnect. And so we're probably going to be moving forward with that. So the board and potentially this E&O committee may see if we can get it all in place, an agreement, interconnection agreement, and but our operations staff is already working with them on doing that. So it's just an area where if connections eight's out, it's a perfect spot to add some flow to the system.
I do know that we have a couple of Fallbrook Interconnect capital projects. I can't remember if it's in the proposed budget for next year or if it's already embedded in this year's budget. So we clearly were contemplating doing
Yes.
something like that. And so
Absolutely.
we're just going to accelerate. What would be a rough description of the scope of work? How many feet of pipe?
Yeah.
How many connectors? What kind of valves? You know, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, well, this one
And a price tag.
This one is, again, we have we're in the same easement, two parallel 20-inch pipelines in the same easement. So the pipeline length itself is pretty short. You're talking, 30 feet of pipeline. The bigger
12 inch?
Yeah, 12-inch. This would be a 12-inch. You're talking about, a couple isolation valves, connections to the 20-inch pipeline, flow meter, a pressure regulating valve, basically a flow control valve. Because you don't want to, we got to be able to control,
Right.
maintain pressure on their side while we're taking flow. That's about it. So, it would be something our crews would take care of. It's more just the logistics of getting everything in place to do that.
Are any of these parts, the valves, et cetera, are they hard to get?
Well, that's what we're working on now.
Okay.
Yeah, the flow control valve, the clay valve, could be. I know Steve's working on that, and I don't know if you feel free to provide update on that.
Could we filch from other districts?
If need be.
Yeah.
Yeah, if need be, we may go that route. But I confident we can pull it off. We've got some backup plans if there is not, but this is really recent news. This came to us last Thursday, Friday. And so we're kind of still working through all
I mean, you don't have it all figured out?
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Again, it's new for us, right? We would be, normally this happens in the winter, and
Right.
we would be, our biggest thing would be mobilizing all these temporary pump stations. So it's good to only have to focus on the one problem rather than multiple problems. It would be a much different scenario. We'd be talking, $500,000 in cost. I think, with 12-inch, clay valve, meter, piping, and that, you're probably looking, it might be 100,000. And I think we had 2 interconnects in the budget for this year, and I think we had about 500,000 in the budget
I remember 250 a pair.
Yeah.
250 a copy, something like that. So
about that.
Yeah.
So there's funds available. We're gonna have to likely expedite that project to try to shore some things up here in the meantime. It's a project we really wanted to get done anyways. Again, didn't think it was going to happen on June 1st, but something we should do anyways. It's a good reliability project. So that's the big news of the week.
Jake, so on the couple of questions for you, the interconnects, what are the operational and business mechanics to light up an interconnect? What is there anything?
Yeah, well, we have some existing agreements with Fallbrook.
So for the ones that we already have in place, I mean,
Yeah.
to turn them on, what does that take?
Yeah, basically we have to give, we give notice to Fallbrook. We meter the flow. The difference, with our old agreements was we were both members of the County Water Authority. So basically the way the agreements were written was we would just swap the flow on the bill, right? Like
Mhm.
we would report to the County Water Authority, hey, we used, and I don't think this happened very often, but we took 20 acre feet from Fallbrook, and they would go, "Boop, okay, we're going to credit Fallbrook 20. We're going to give you 20. Now we're both members of Eastern, but it's probably not that simple to do that with the Met bill. So we're going to have to work out that internally. So those are things TBD, a little bit TBD. I think the rest, we have kind of the framework for how we would do it. It's probably more just the billings, we're using their system.
Business side.
Yeah, we're using their system to wheel and those kind of things. So there's something but obviously, we have a good partnership with Fallbrook, and
Mhm.
I think we can
Mhm.
work all that out. But that's probably something the board may see in April if we can get drafts through both our agency and Fallbrook, and legal and all that. And
Mhm.
we'll work on getting that in place all before June 1st. So
And then second question is there a defined date that the ratepayers would be notified of this or not? And
well, that's
how do we get to that?
yeah, that's something we're still talking about. I mean, in reality, if we have enough supply, it is what it is, right? I mean,
Don't need
we just
to
keep supplying
line
water.
everybody up, yeah.
If we need to pull the trigger of, reducing some demand, if the numbers are looking a little tight, then we would start that early. I would say May 1st at the latest. And
But if this
start
interconnection
getting-
goes through, then you wouldn't have a supply issue.
depending on how much we can get and that kind of thing. I mean, we want to be 200% sure. I would say that under basically all conditions, right? We get a heat wave and then, comes June 1st and lasts all the way through. I mean, those are the kind of scenarios we really have to prepare for. So that's, I mean, more to come on this. This is a couple days in the works and we're still kind of working through the details, but there'll be more to come on all that. Yeah.
I have, you mentioned a great deal of information. What is the cause of the shutdown? What have they found in this
Yeah.
renovation of these
What
pipes?
what they do, they monitor these pipes and when they came in and gave a overview,
Right.
you remember they gave a presentation on when they were lining the untreated pipeline. They're pre-stressed steel cylinder pipes. So very thin steel, pre-stressed wires and then concrete. And this was a popular pipe back when these were built, which was, I think it was the 40s. Yeah. But the pre-stressed it's very difficult to deal with and those wires break, and so and the water authorities experienced this a little bit further south where these wires start to break and then the entire pipe will fail. And these are 96-inch diameter pipelines. So
8-foot barrel?
not things you want to see fail. Huge damage with the one that they did have again down south. So they actually have some monitoring. It's like fiber optic that actually monitors sound, right? So they actually can hear when these wires break, makes this distinct sound, and then they record these things. When they get to a certain number of breaks, they know they've got to do something, they've got to respond. And I think they're 80% at that number. And I don't know all the details. I haven't seen all the, we were just told, hey, we're doing this. There's an issue. Well, we probably will see that. I imagine at the County Water Authority board meeting. I heard they were going to present this at the April meeting. And but when they start to see the ramp, the brakes start to ramp up, then they know they've got to do something. I know they have an emergency contract for these types of repairs. I was on the board when they approved the contract. It's like a carbon fiber liner that they install. Rather than the steel, that's a much more planned effort. And so that's what they're planning on doing here, is my understanding.
Optimistically, is this 20 days a soft number or
Still making efforts on that
okay.
question.
So it could be extended.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's on which end it's
Right,
soft.
yeah,
I'd like to know that.
That would be a good
I'd like to
question.
know that. Yeah.
The pipeline project that's ongoing already, you said it was untreated
Yeah,
and they're lining, because I thought that was still happening.
it is.
Mhm.
It is. I think they're supposed to be done with that in May.
Do we use any of that water in any way?
No, not
So
on the
don't care
untreated
to
side.
us.
No, not on the untreated side. That impacts, Oceanside at the Weiss plant and, a couple others, but
Okay.
not us. No, we're just this pipeline 4. That is one of our backbones. So
Is that the same one that broke? They changed the 20-foot section on it a year ago.
That was closer to Camino del Rey.
yeah,
It was
no,
like-
that was off the untreated as well, I believe.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Yeah.
I could look out my window and watch them working for.
Yeah, I believe that was off the untreated too.
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't had a treated water shutdown since when, Steve?
They had the issue similar to this, like 2 years, the bulkheads.
Okay,
10-day shutdown for the same thing, a fiber
fiber, yeah.
repair.
So it's been a couple of years since they've done one of these. Yeah.
Okay, and we're not entitled to any compensation for our cost of covering this.
No, and the reality is, this is a project we want to get done anyways. It is a reliability project for Connection 8. It's actually, if for those that were in my review, this was actually one of the priorities was to shore up supply on that. And it, again, absolutely unrelated to detachment. If we wouldn't have built those pump stations, that's the thing. We'd actually been in much worse shape right now. That actually helped. But this has been the situation since the district was formed, and it's something we want to take care of. And so that interconnect helps with that.
Now, do we run increased capacity through the pump stations while this is going? So the electric bill goes up a little bit? Or?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. It's, that's just, again, we may pump the tanks up a little bit, keep probably leading up to to June 1st. We'll increase and fill the tanks and do all that, but it's not really beyond that. It's just covering demand. It's really it's a supply issue, right? Not so much a distribution issue. Yeah.
You mentioned Memorial Reservoir is going to be key to try to get that ramped up.
Oh, we're gonna fill it.
I was going to ask you, are you able to fill it by then? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. 45 days is about the plus or minus. Yeah. So we've got a little float on that, but we're doing it now.
I'm trying to remember, is Morrow the one we put the mixers in?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big.
So yeah, it's exciting times. And like I said, we're still kind of gathering information and obviously going through everything on our side, and more to come on all this. But yeah, we're prepping for it.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Anything else, Jake?
I have a call about this at 2:00 that I'm gonna have to step out for if we're still meeting at that time. So I apologize in advance.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay,
That's it.
very interesting. Okay, next is Chad, Engineering CIP
Yeah, so
update.
we went through well, at the last, is there a thing for board things, or do we do that now? Do that after?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do that in a minute.
SMS gave us their schedule for the weed abatement, district-wide weed abatement. So we are in the nesting season for some protected bird species. So we've hired some biologists to go out there and do some surveying for us. And then in areas that are cleared, SMS is already out there working. So that is nice. And then USG, the tank maintenance contractor, is currently working at 2 tanks simultaneously. So they're at the Hutton tank, sure Mr. Marnett sees them, and the Rainbow Heights tank. So they have enough crews to do both at the same time, which is really good for us because we'll get them back online.
By June, right? Finished in
before,
June.
before it starts warming up, these tanks will be back online. Full interior recoats. So that's really good. Some work underway at the Morrow tank. That is the one on-call task order that was issued in the last month. So we have our benchmark surveys out there. So that's done. So now we have a structural engineer, land surveyor, and the geotech, all 3 firms working together. So we're going to monitor this and collect data over the next several months, and then come up with a plan of what best to do with the Morrow tank and how much does that plan cost and what are alternate plans and so on. So that's underway. And then engineering is working a lot with operations on this 20-day shutdown. We have some projects that are getting ready to go out for bid, which now are impacted by this. So we're working through logistics on those items. So no shortage of items to do.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Any questions for Chad? Comments? Okay, we'll move along to operations.
Anything else to add? I think that's the big one. I think I took that one. Yeah.
All done.
Yep,
Okay.
that's it.
And are there any comments by committee members on topics of interest?
I have a small one. We still have our ugly wood pile at the Hutton tank.
Oh,
Need somebody to take a look at that.
Find that was SDG&E.
I think we think it was SDG&E. I know somebody was going to reach out to find, because there's power lines that run through there. We think they
Yeah.
did that beautiful work
No,
out
they
there.
just left everything on
Yeah.
the ground. They only cut up the small branches. They left all
The district confirmed it was not the district or any of its contractors.
Yeah.
And there is a adjacent power pole, and so we think it was SDG.
And this also is about the tree, the ugly tree.
Yeah, it's ugly. You should see it. You don't leave a tree up like this. They took a whole tree and now it's just a little Y.
Yeah.
One little branch here.
Decorate it for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we've reached out to SDG&E
We-
yet.
we-
I'll send an email to our rep and just
Harass them.
poke them a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Thanks, Robert. Okay, board action updates. This is the one you were,
Yep.
Chad, go for it.
So at last month's board meeting, the contract to Dexter Wilson for the Gopher Pump Station was awarded. That was what came through the committee.
The design.
The design, yeah. We also gave the board the same CIP update that the committee received at its earlier meeting. And I learned a lot from the IT department that we forgot to upload the updated presentation to the correct presentations folder. So we'll get that right on the next time.
Any comments, questions? Okay, we'll move on to an action item. This is an item where the staff is seeking the committee's recommendation for an item to the board. And why don't you go ahead, Chad? It's you.
Yep, so this is the second time since I've been at the district that we've needed to do this. We issue these on-call as-needed agreements with several different disciplines. Each one of them, we put out the RFPs, they send us the proposals, staff reviews them. Sometimes the committee members have reviewed them in the past. And what we, as we get underway under the contracts, what we find is some consultants are much more eager to respond. They are much more aggressive on their pricing and their timing, their availability, everything. And so as we get into the contracts, all of these firms received the exact same task assignment. And some either just, for example, we just did the bird nesting survey. Helix and Recon both got the exact same work, almost $1,000, $1,500 difference, the exact same fee. So, and the cheaper one can get it done faster as well. And so we're going with Recon in that case. And so this happens from time to time. And so we call it a rebalancing of the contracts. It is a net zero change. We're not asking for any additional allocation of funds. A lot of these projects that are utilized, we work with the finance department. If it can be capitalized, it's taken out of the professional services operating budget and moved over to the capital budget. Finance does that on the back end. But this is where we do need to do this. The change orders do exceed most of them, the general manager signing authority. So we want to go to the board as we did last time. And then all consultants that are affected, whether they're getting an increase or an extension of their contract, or, hey, we're going to take some money from you and give it to this other discipline. Everyone's notified via change order so that the agreements are all amended. That pretty much explains it. I know I probably went fast. Happy to answer any questions.
You have a nice start here.
We work hard on the tables.
Sure.
We try and make it to where it's transparent and easy to follow.
Okay, I have two comments. I think you should be more aggressive. For example, in the as-needed surveying. Clearly somebody you haven't used hardly at all has 95,000 left. Take some of their money and spread it to the other two firms, I would recommend. And the same for the geotechnical services. Respread it a little more to the ones that have been cooperative.
And so that was heavily vetted, both of those. The reason we're not is the projects we have upcoming
Might fit the one that
Exactly.
wasn't being used.
in both
Okay.
disciplines, correct?
All right,
Whereas if I take it now, then I'm gonna probably have to give it back in pretty short order.
okay.
But that is a great comment.
Otherwise, it's fine.
Well, thank you.
You pretty much stick to the as needed as these different project needs come up, or do you have the, find yourself oftentimes because they already have a contract in place, they tend to, I want to say overcharge, but they're less willing to come in with aggressive pricing. So you do pull in other people.
That is a great question. So they are competing against other firms within their own discipline. So they do keep the pencil pretty sharp and it gives us a good range. However, on the La Cañada pipeline project, we reached out to one of the firms on here. We had a great conversation with them and let's get this going. It's 4,000 feet. Let's work with each other and get it done. When the price came, I'm like, that just seems extremely high. So we actually reached out to the other on-call as needed and some other firms that weren't even on the list as well. And we're going to go on that with a firm that's not actually on the list.
So this is just nice to have, if you need something quick, it's a de minimis project,
Yes.
something you can call on.
We don't have to do
If
it.
it's starting to get up in price, you oftentimes will look outside this.
That
this
is
need.
exact how we do it.
Great, thank you.
As they did with Dexter Wilson for the. Dexter Wilson is on here, but they chose not to task their as needed. They went for an independent consultant selection
Or go.
for the,
Yeah.
for the pump station.
Yeah.
Gopher, yep. I have a couple of things.
Sure.
One of them is that
Are you on the table?
yeah, I'm on the table. KDM Meridian is not reflecting in the total encumbered column, the 34,000 that shows up that you have encumbered for them on the Morrow tank subsidence issue. Okay. So you might want to bump that number up. Just a thought.
So, well, you know this, that we've tried doing all of the different columns to show, but it confuses everybody. So the encumbered is done and that's what's now available. So it does show the total encumbered.
Well, if I look at the as needed, because I was just paying attention to this, if I look at the as needed report,
Yeah, you're gonna end up with 75,000 after all said and done.
if I look at the as needed report on page 2, it shows that if I add the 10 plus the 7.5 and the 7.480, I get the same number that you're showing in the chart. And then when you add the 34.4, you get a higher number, which is about a little under 60.
Yeah.
And it shows that unspecified is 40 on here, whereas on the other one, it's showing that the unspecified is smaller. It's something's out of whack.
No, I would ask that because I think we did this 2 years ago. I think Tracy Largent was still the finance manager, where there's lots of hidden columns on this one. And Flint, you played an integral role helping us make this the most sense possible. So it does all add up, but we can't, this is the best of the worst way to, Julie's nodding her head, the best of the worst way
Well, we're,
Me,
to report this
yeah.
data.
so
This is easier to read.
but he's right. There's a 34,400 that was issued for the Morrow tank.
It's encumbered.
Right.
It's encumbered.
Okay. I will absolutely circle back
Okay.
with staff and the finance department. And if the board memo needs to be corrected, we will do so.
And
Or I'm just confused about how the spreadsheet is.
I,
too.
Well-
I think it's gonna be that, but we're gonna clear it up no matter what.
we,
I don't want people to be.
a couple of years ago, we went through some very complicated gymnastics because
Yes.
the as needed monthly report, Jake, was just getting very hard to fathom. And there were too many columns and money was parked in places that just was kind of weird. And so we tried to simplify it, but I would think that encumbered is encumbered. And if you've got it, if you're using the word encumbered in one chart, it should mean the same thing as encumbered in the other chart. So yada, yada, yada. And like Bob, I'm good with your proposed reallocations. They make sense. I get it. I am curious why we housed and until you said something, I didn't realize it, but I'm curious why we housed the subsidence measurement at Morrow Tank with a surveying company as opposed, it seems to me that would have been with the geotech. Now, you said that we are using our geotech and one other as needed. Just curious why surveying is the lead rather than geotech is the lead.
Oh, surveying is not the lead. In fact, none of them are really the lead. So Atlas Engineering is the geotech, and they've been out there for the better part of a year, maybe almost 18 months.
Okay.
And in their report to the district, they recommended that survey benchmarks be installed so that we can monitor more data points, horizontal and lateral movement. So they know the ground is moving, exactly how much. We have the 2 inclinometers out there, but now we have some benchmarks. So you can take the inclinometer data with your benchmark data and compare that. And then district staff said, we also think we need a structural engineer, a part of this team. So that when we have all of this data and we can look inside the tank, now what do we do with it?
Are we carrying the structural engineer? Where are we getting, because we don't have a structural engineer in as needed, right?
Yep.
So
We have a separate
so
PSA with.
KDM went out and found a structural?
No, district staff did. We went out and solicited a informal RFP, met with firms and awarded the contract.
How much dough we talk about on
I
structural?
don't have that on.
Roughly 10,000,
I-
5,000?
I don't know offhand. I can find out.
And so the 34,000 is being paid to a variety of consultants through KDM?
No, they are all billed individually. So KDM sends us an invoice, the district pays KDM, Atlas sends us their invoice, we do that, and Peterson Structural sends us theirs and they do that. We are the gatekeeper of all three firms working together.
And you would be involved as well because it's chief financial officer.
I see it. I see it. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, somehow I did not see the Morrow tank movement on the Atlas. I didn't see it on the Atlas, but it's there. It was just hiding from my eyes.
Okay,
It's on the Atlas list. I got it. I see it. So we're really spending 34 on on-call land surveying services with KDM and another 42.5 with Atlas. Is that right?
I believe that is correct, yes.
Plus an unspecified amount to a
With
structure.
Peterson, yes.
Okay, all right.
And
all
the
right.
Peterson contract, if that did not go to the board, then it was within the general manager's side.
Right, yeah, I got it. Okay. And like Bob, I'm thinking maybe we could be a little more aggressive. We've got $600,000 parked in civil.
Mhm.
And nothing that you're indicating on the chart is on the horizon for civil. And do we need, what are we doing?
I believe we do. And again, all department heads have met. Engineering staff has evaluated this. While it's not shown in the year one project, these contracts go beyond that. And we
Yeah.
do have work coming up where we will be reaching out to them.
Do we know what we're planning to use them for?
I mean, if we go off of our 5-year CIP, we know exactly where we're going to be reaching out.
That's
to them.
what I'm asking. What, do we know what projects we plan to use the as needed for?
You're asking, I don't have that PowerPoint pulled up right now. I mean,
Okay,
Not
That's
off,
the definition of as needed.
not off memory, yeah.
no,
So if possibly a future agenda item for our next meeting could be a review of that. Would that help?
well, I just would like to know, I mean, I respect the fact that you guys have taken a look at this. Little transparency on what it is we plan to spend $600,000 in as needed civil engineering. I know we have some projects. I mean, we got La Cunha, we got projects that we need to do. We've got a pipeline replacement. We got some other things, but $600,000 is a lot of civil engineering. I'd like to just know what we're going to spend it on.
Constantine, can you speak to it? Because when we say the 600,000 is parked or earmarked, it's not really taken out of investment and pulled into account. You do this on the back end.
Right.
Yeah.
End of year,
Yeah, it's
correct?
still sitting
they-
invested in
But
that
they have
account.
we have contracting authority and what
We
we're
do.
doing.
We can award them zero
Right.
or the full amount or anything in between, or in some cases more via change order.
I don't get your
It's-
point. I
it's an
understand that.
It's an up to.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand. But we're not proposing to reallocate any of the four
Correct.
150s. So that's 600 that we believe we have spending authority for that we have projects on the books
We do.
for the coming year. That would,
Years.
that would eat up the $600,000 in engineering as needed. I'm just asking what projects, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know those offhand, but we can
Okay.
absolutely agendize that and come back.
Would you? That'd be nice.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate
Let's
it.
made
do
a
that
note.
next month.
Mhm.
Huh?
Let's do that next month.
Yeah, that'd be
For
nice.
review.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I still am gonna vote in favor of recommending the allocations because where I'm going is I just wonder if maybe some of that civil needs to be reallocated, and if so, is it that reallocated not so much between the civils, but rather could it go to some other category
Yep.
that is of value to us? That's all I'm looking at, Chad.
Understood.
And we can follow that up if we need to. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We'll have a table of the projects and which discipline we think
Yes.
is going to be applied.
That would be
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
That'd be
And
great.
to clarify, the monies that are not being spent are still invested in bonds or whatever.
Leif and yeah,
Okay,
camp.
so they are yielding interest bearing,
correct.
correct? Okay,
Yeah. So when we
4.5%
okay,
annual, yeah. get
whether we
interest.
Thank
go
you.
off this
that's good.
on call as needed
Yeah.
or we go solicit
In-house,
our RFP in-house, whatever we do. If it's not a project yet, if we don't have a project
Mhm.
number, a deposit amount, we charge that to the
Mhm.
engineering professional services. If there is a project like the Gopher Canyon Pump Station, La Cañada, that will not be reflected on the on-call as needed because it's going to be
Not
capitalized.
on call.
Right.
We use the on-call as the vessel, but it is being billed
Mhm.
elsewhere. And that is where Constantine and his
Mhm.
team do their, I just get the firms that get the work
right.
and code the invoices correctly.
Yes.
Any other questions?
So the ask here is, it's not a cost savings
No,
or
it's
cost
just,
justification.
What I'm writing down is
Yeah.
what projects do we have coming up and which on-call disciplines are to be used?
Perfect.
Perfect.
and the reallocation that the staff has proposed is simply a reallocation of spending authority. That's really what it is. And the money comes from the individual capital projects. And this is how we get the work done, just like paying our staff.
Correct.
Yeah, I got it.
On the ones that increase, do you have to go back and send a change order out for the contract?
All of them. All of them.
Okay.
Every contract is amended accordingly.
All right.
And if, for example, Acme Engineering receives a change order for a deduct of $50,000. And if there's an explanation as to why, we then have a honest debrief of, we've sent you 6 task orders to which you have replied to 0 of them, or you're not competitive. So
Okay.
go more aggressive on the next time we reach out to you.
Makes sense.
Right, and these contracts have been very helpful for us. I remember right after I got on this committee, I noticed that we did not use this facility. And I remember recommending that we go with as needed consultants.
I think that was probably before my time.
That was before your time,
Yeah.
yes, and because I had used them extensively in San Francisco.
Okay.
On a number of large projects, and it just made sense. It saved time, it saved money, and as long as you had a herd of as neededs in a topical area, you can still get some price competition.
Yep.
By asking them
To
to
Director
compete.
Fine's point, exactly.
And we were much more aggressive about giving the boot to people that didn't respond. If you didn't respond to 3 requests, you're done.
Done.
You're done,
Yeah.
period. And because that's just why would they want the contract on the books and why would we want
Yeah.
to be wasting time with them?
Keep reaching out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So this has turned out to be a very good facility for the
It
district.
does.
And
It allows work to be done competitively and faster.
Mhm.
quickly,
Yeah.
quickly, that's the idea, is to be able to respond in real time. So is there any other conversation or discussion? Any questions here?
Yeah, just one other quick question.
Go ahead, yeah.
So the proposed changes, Chad, that'll come back to, that will come to the board
It
for
will.
approval.
It will.
Once the board approves that, if a particular project requires a number in one of these categories outside of the signature authority, the general manager, does that come back again individually, or once this is approved, does that approve the entire amount, even if one particular project exceeds the signature authority of the general manager?
I want to make sure that I answer it, but I don't know if I understand it fully. So the amounts that are shown are what will be sent via the change order to the different consultants.
Okay.
And so the board, if approved,
Okay.
is authorizing the general manager to sign those change orders on behalf of the district.
Okay.
That then resets the general manager signing authority. So if the contract was 100,000, he could sign 25,000. Now he has perhaps a higher signing authority. But anything that's, the admin code is either 10% of the contract or 25,000, whichever is greater. So anything outside of that has to come back to the board.
And if I'm understanding your question, Greg, I think, for example, let's just say Waterworks Engineering has a contract with us for 150,000 of sealing, okay? If they had a project that needed $150,000 worth of civil work, they can go to Jake and they can let that change order, and no matter what Jake's signature authority is, he
That
can
is-
use,
that-
that is his signature authority for that, okay?
But
Yeah. Is
it
that-
goes back to your earlier point. Projects of that magnitude, we typically issue a standalone RFP. Because this is meant for, like you said, the de minimis, the 10.
15, 20,
maybe
15.
20 grand.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
get up into that dollar or that complexity, we really want all firms to be able to propose, not just these three.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Did I answer the question?
You did.
Oneself? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you both.
Is there any further discussion? If not, I'm looking for a motion. I'll move it. I move that we recommend that this reallocation go to the board, and I believe that is option one. So I move that we recommend option one to the board. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Julie. Can we can just do this right now, right? Yeah, okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And it is unanimously approved after a healthy discussion. Okay. Having a hard time with the paper today. Okay, that was item 11. Item 12, as needed services expenditure summary. We have one yellow, and that's the Morrow tank for the surveyor.
Correct.
So, any comments or questions on the as needed summary?
No.
Okay. And suggested agenda items for next time.
I have the one.
Hey, we have that
One, correct?
I have the one.
list of civil projects, right?
Yes.
Okay, and there'll be a presentation for that.
Yeah, and I won't do, I mean, unless the committee wants just civil, I could say this is where we plan on using,
I think an overview would be helpful.
yeah,
Holistically.
yeah, it's kind of a more,
Yeah.
okay, that's
I
what
think
I wrote.
It's
It.
Because you
a
have-
timely overview. That would
Sure.
be,
That'd be great, because after all, we have thrown some extra money, some extra authority
Yeah.
to some of the other consultants. Some have had it taken away. So yeah, it'd be helpful. That'd be good. That'd be
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
And I mean,
We haven't reviewed the as needed in a long time.
right.
yeah, not since it was
Right.
issued about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the operations department, the IT department, they are very good at bringing on projects that were not, we all work very hard on the 5-year CIP. And new projects come in all the time, which keeps us all fresh and on our toes. So even if we go through the table and it's like, well, it's still not adding up. There's
That's
no,
why you're the best chap.
there-
And that's
You're able to squeeze. them in.
perfect examples what is.
yeah, we dovetail it in.
Yeah.
Wherever it's needed and it's nice.
Okay, and also on the list for next time, I think we need to hear more about this water authority shutdown.
Okay.
All right, where we're going, how we
The
doing
20
on,
day, yeah, not water authority, but the 20-day shutdown.
yep. That's Metropolitan, right? MWA?
It's,
It's water authorities.
yeah,
Okay.
it's water
They-
authority.
They requested this shutdown.
San
to
Diego
Met.
Water
Yeah.
Authority?
Oh,
Yep.
2
Yeah.
Well, then I'm very confused. If we have weaned ourselves off of the San Diego Water Authority system, why is this shutdown of their pipeline?
Because it's one and the same. They have to isolate it at the Skinner treatment plant. That affects everybody.
All right,
I have an agenda item.
go ahead.
I would like to propose that we have an update on researching state and federal grants to support the acquiring some funds for our pump stations and their needs. We have 2 pump stations without generators. It would be proactive to start looking to see if there is some available grant money for that, as well as to Gopher Canyon, just to see what grants are out there for us to consider. So that might be a just report out of where we are.
So we are currently using Hope Consulting and then with Esther coming on board.
Right.
So that might be something Constantine, the finance department, can take the lead on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd just be curious because your predecessor oversaw grant writing. And so I think we have to always keep our lens on that because the money might be getting tight, but some grants will be opening up to help water districts. So I'd like us to make sure, because in case of things, if having one pump station with a generator, I like to have all three down the road to be having generators. So we are not dealing with that. What do we do now situation?
Good. Or mobilize temporary.
Exactly. Yes.
It's a good point. It's a good point. And I think it's gonna be interesting to hear what the grant world looks like with the current efforts at the federal government to pare back spending. Have to see whether this kind of thing is in that category or not.
To keep a lens on it constantly, to see
Right.
what's happening.
Any other thoughts on topics for next time?
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify.
Yep.
The appointment, for Rod Smith to the committee, he attended the last meeting. He's attending via Zoom on this meeting. Is that something that can be, nominated from the floor, or does that go on to an agenda item, or how do
It would-
you typically like to do that?
Okay, typically the way that works is that after a person has attended 2 or 3 committee meetings, whether it's in person or via Zoom, then they can express their desire to join the committee, at which point then the committee votes and makes a recommendation to the board, because only the board can appoint somebody to the committee, Greg. So
Okay.
that's our typical process.
Is that an agendized item for the
Yes,
committee?
yes.
So then Rod will be attending the May as well, so that'll be his 3rd meeting, so he's expressed that interest to join the committee, so I'd like to add that to the
Okay,
agenda.
all right,
May meeting.
thank you.
If I might remind everybody also, the May 6th meeting will be a joint committee meeting with the board. We'll still have our board meeting.
Right.
Budget.
I'm sorry, combined with,
We're going to have the Engineering and Operations Committee, the Budget and Finance Committee, and the board as a joint budget workshop on the
Okay.
6th.
on May 6th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Be a good agenda.
Yeah,
6th.
that's going to be,
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, thanks. And Rodney, I know you're there. I know you're listening, Rod. I just wanted to tell you that I was looking forward to seeing you today, and I did not pay attention to the list of people who are attending via Zoom. I'm glad to see you're there, and I appreciate your interest in our committee and look forward to seeing more of you. Okay, so you have anything you want to say to the committee at this time?
He's on mute, but
I see he's on mute, but he can. Okay. Then I think there he is.
Yeah. Yeah, again, as I said last time, I liked the discussion of the committee. I think certainly to have the most transparent and easiest to follow, use of funds and how they're reallocated is always a good idea. And one thing that just hit me, and it's just a question, it's not a recommendation, is there must be some level of these reallocation budget decisions where maybe staff should be preparing lack of a better word, a cost benefit analysis of the alternatives and what you get by that budget or reallocation of funds as it relates to some of the more fundamental objectives of your overall system. That's the only thing that hit me today.
Kind of like a committee member already.
Yeah. Thank you, Rod. Appreciate the input. And
Okay.
You should know that at this committee today, I realize the committee meeting is basically coming to an end, but we clearly would have welcomed your input at any point along the way on any topic that we discussed. The fact that you are not yet officially on the committee does not in any way, in our view, inhibit your ability to make comments or to make proposals or suggestions to us along the way. And that will also apply to the meeting on May the 5th, the meeting where Greg has suggested that you would be nominated to serve on the committee. And so please feel comfortable jumping in, getting wet and sweaty with us, okay? No problem. We're happy to have it.
Well, if you check out my reputation, I'm not shy.
Okay. So I think we're done, and we've got 4 items for the next committee meeting and nothing else to do today. So without any objection, we'll go ahead and we'll adjourn this thing, and QED will quit and eat dinner, okay? All right. Very good.